Hello, welcome to the second episode of Sparrow Binges. I am your host, Nisha Joshi. The theme for today's episode is something most of us can relate to or turn to when we don't find the right mix of words to express our feelings. Today's selection is for when you want to think about the matters of the heart and, of course, turn to films for solace. First up, we have The Half of It, a 2020 American film directed by Alice Wu. The film received the Founders Award for the Best Narrative Feature at the Tribeca Film Festival 2020. You can currently watch it on Netflix. The narrative is set in the fictional town of Squamish, Washington. Given that we are made to know that Squamish is a small town and our primary characters attend high school, we already have a starting point for our imagination. But Alice Wu's retelling of parts of her life combined with her writing direction make this narrative a much needed and important one. We see Leah Louise, who plays the character of Ellie Chu. At first, we are certain that she is a bit reserved, and early on in the film, we can already spot that she's the only Asian in her high school. Through the course of the film, we learn that she writes papers for her batchmates for extra money, is a skilled musician, and plays an important role in taking care of her father at home. Her father is shown to be struggling when it comes to work, and as it turns out, not knowing English overpowers having a PhD for Edwin Chu. Both Ellie and her father have kind of settled into a routine and trying to fill the gaping hole of the absence of Ellie's mother. They are shown sharing meals and, of course, watching old classic films. There's also a snippet of a Hindi film, and you'd be surprised to see which one. We are shown bits and pieces of high school life. Of course, there's a presence of a social hierarchy, a mean girl's representation, and characters grappling with their everyday life, winning some, losing some. There are moments where you can empathize with the character and, of course, relate to them. Aster Flows, played by Alexis Lemaire, embodies a certain doubt, confusion, and the baggage of peer pressure that most of us might have faced at some point in our lives. She's also shown to be the preacher's daughter, which automatically casts her in a certain mold, which she's trying to break out of. This shift is aided by Peter Munsky, played by Daniel Deemer, and of course Ellie. Peter Munsky is shown to be part of the football team and is quite different from the bunch in high school. He has his reasons for staying in Squamish, and you can't help but admire the sheer innocence in him. A particular motive starts the interaction between Peter and Aster. This also results in the emerging friendship shown in the film, and of course the turn which Ellie and Aster's relationship takes. There are such delicate and authentic crafted scenes between Ellie and Aster that you can't help but sense the deep affection that is shown between them, and of course feel a certain sense of desire and belonging for someone. There's so much that the three of the characters do for each other without it being overtly said or rubbed into the audience's faces that you ponder over the nature of friendship itself. The narrative makes us reflect over race, immigration, language, friendship, beliefs, religion, and more importantly, love. The film has a huge heart and will leave you with a tender feeling. The end of the film is really heartwarming, and it might just want to make you believe in yourself a little bit more. I think more of my words would not do justice to the film, and hence I would want to quote from the film. Love is messy and horrible and selfish and bold. The second suggestion for today is Masan, a 2015 Indian film directed by Neeraj Ghawan. It premiered at the Cannes Film Festival 2015, where it won 2 awards and was also widely appreciated in the Indian and international film circuit. You can currently watch it on Netflix. Masan is set in Banaras and is about two seemingly different narratives which end up meeting with more than just loss in common. We can't exclude the character of Banaras itself and, of course, the name of the film. Masan literally means a Samshan Ghat or a cremation ground. The city of Banaras is symbolic of culture, values, holiness, salvation, and also representative of grief, loss, and the end of a life cycle. The film begins with Devi Pathak, played by Richa Chadda, who's shown meeting her partner in a lodge. What follows after is unfortunate and a grief-inflicted start for her, the brunt of which is not faced by her alone, but also her father Vidyadhar Pathak, played by Sanjay Mishra. Vidyadhar Pathak owns a small shop at the Ghats of Ganga where he sells holy books, flowers, and other paraphernalia. We can sense an emotional distance between the father and daughter, which we could possibly attribute to the absence of Devi's mother, and also the hardships they have had to endure in life, with financial crisis being one of them. The problems are only aggravated with the entry of Inspector Mishra, played by Bhagwan Tiwari. On the other hand, we have Deepak Chaudhary, played by Vicky Kaushal, who works at Harishchandra Ghat, where he takes coal and assists in cremation rituals, an occupation which has been part of his family for generations. We know that he's bound by his caste, birth, occupation, something he is trying to put in the background by giving his engineering exam. As the film progresses, we see he meets Shalu Gupta, played by Shweta Tripathi, and love soon starts to blossom between the two. The audience is made aware of the limitations and possibilities of the journey these two would have. We are also made aware of the caste bias, caste structure, and social hierarchy which is deep rooted in our society. There's also a delightful appearance by Pankaj Tripathi, who plays Devi's Kadeer. Both Devi and Deepak have experienced a different kind of loss in their lives but are still trying to move forward. Their trajectory can be compared to the city of Banaras itself, which does have destruction at one end, but also the presence of Ganga, which flows no matter what. The film does not shy away from expressing the vulnerabilities and characters at their lowest when it comes to both Devi and Deep. The soundtrack of the film is mesmerizing and adds momentum to the narrative. It is a befitting moment when the two characters meet and how they meet with the backdrop of Sangam, Allahabad. Masaan undoubtedly leaves you thinking so much about love, loss, and the fickle nature of life itself. Up next, we have The Perks of Being a Wallflower, a 2012 anti-coming of age film directed by Stephen Chbosky, based on his novel by the same name. The film was both critically and commercially successful. You can currently stream it on Netflix. The film begins with Charlie, played by Logan Lerman, who's shown at his desk writing, expressing his feelings, thoughts, and anxieties about starting freshman year. We can clearly ascertain that he's at a difficult place in his life and also that his social life in school is not quite easy right now. As the film progresses, we are introduced to Sam and Patrick, played by Emma Watson and Ezra Miller, respectively. They are both in their senior year and they help Charlie break out of his shell. This interaction is a starting point for a newfound friendship for Charlie. At several points in the film, we are reminded about how Charlie, still recovering from his past, has his bouts of depression and often imagines his dead aunt. All these circumstances make us feel a lot more for Charlie. About Sam and Patrick, Patrick has this aura and charm of confidence, but also has his low points when his relationship with Brad is ridiculed, his identity is mocked, and his trust is broken. While Sam is shown to always support and stand by her half brother Patrick, she is also someone who we feel curious about very easily. Charlie soon has a small group of friends which help him keep his mind off of his past and provide a window for him to actually enjoy the present and the place where he is right now. We also have Paul Rudd, who plays Mr. Anderson, their English teacher. He's one of the most affable characters. There's also a tender scene between Charlie and Mr. Anderson, which sort of represents Charlie's emotions for Sam. Charlie's family is often seen helping him and trying to provide a safe space for him. A lot happens in the second half of the film which changes the equations of Sam, Patrick, and Charlie, but after the conflicts, there is a newfound sense of unity and friendship among the three of them. Towards the end of the film, we see Charlie at a different point in his life. This does not mean that there's a whole wide world of a difference or a complete transformation has happened, but more than anything, Charlie is seen trying to be present in the moment, which is a possible result of his newfound understanding of life itself and the importance of friendship. We see how Charlie is trying to be grateful for the present and has gained so much for a whole lot that he lost. The film reminds us of the hard times and the hardships we all endure at some point in our lives, but also that maybe there's light at the end of the tunnel. We've come to the last suggestion for today's episode. Now, this film is one of the most compelling, finest, beautiful films I've seen recently. It completely blew me away with its narrative, visuals, and soundtrack. I'm talking about Kumbalangi Nights, a 2019 Indian film directed by Madhu C. Narayan. It was widely appreciated by the critics and received immense love from the audience. The film is in Malayalam and you can currently stream it on Amazon Prime. The film is set in Kumbalangi, Kochi, and is about four brothers who live in a dysfunctional home, trying to cope with their flaws, vulnerabilities, and navigating their ways through love and life. The house which the four brothers share sort of signifies their present also, which is still forming shape and finding ground. We have Shobhan Sher as Saji, Shane Nigam as Bobby, Srinath Bassi as Bonnie, Fahad Fasil as Shammi, Anna Ben as Baby, Matthew Thomas as Frankie, and Grace Anthony as Simi. As the film progresses, we are made aware of the complicated, tangled, tense relationship which the four brothers have, and also a void of the parents, which is a love which all four of them crave for in their own way. There are carefully crafted moments in the film to show the vulnerabilities of characters, be it Saji's anger issues, Bobby's frustration with his present and unemployment, Bonnie's efforts to keep the quarrels low at home, and Frankie's desire to come home to a loving space. We also have Fahad Fasil, whose presence is bound to make you feel a bit unsettled. Through the course of the film, Bobby is also shown to fall in love with Baby, who happens to be Shammi's sister-in-law. This is an indication of the trouble and conflict which lies ahead. The film highlights tones of patriarchy, toxic masculinity, issues of mental health, and the aftermath of unresolved, unspoken emotions. The women in the film, be it both Baby and Simi, do not paint a helpless picture. Yes, Simi does lean towards a calm stance in the film, but that does not mean that she believes it to be a mold to stick in or fit in when time arrives. The supporting characters in the film add momentum to the narrative, justify their presence, and keep us all the more engaged. The film makes you actively think of your feelings, your present, the place you inhabit, and the people whom you call home. We see the change of certain characters in the film, not in a way of letting go of their past, but more about respecting and admiring what's still left in the present. The soundtrack of the film is completely mesmerizing. I, for one, do not understand Malayalam, but I'm sure when you hear it, you automatically get like a sense of the emotion which the film is trying to convey to you. The visuals of the film are so inviting and mesmerizing that you can't help but want to get a glimpse of Kumbalangi. The film leaves you with so much appreciation for its makers, reminds you of the fickle nature of life, but also the immense love which is present and being grateful for the people you have. With this, we come to the end of today's episode. I hope you liked our suggestions. Please do check them out. Thank you.
If you liked this video, please do hit the bell icon, subscribe to the Red Sparrow, and never miss out on interesting curations.